Okay.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels in the Milestone Book Club. I am fresh off a C2E2, where I got to talk to Dennis Cowan some. Um, so
Yeah,
so I had like Milestone on the brain. And for
that's
that
awesome.
matter, I used the bird sequence as part of my cool people talking about comics slideshow from Hardware number one.
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
So so
Ooh.
yeah,
I wish
Milestone
I,
connections.
I wish I could have made it out
Definitely.
there, but yeah, no, it's I'm hearing the
It
stories.
was fun.
It's
I would have
I
let you be a cool person. You could have
no, I
talked
get.
about comics with us.
I mean, I would have tried. No, I get it. Um, but yeah, no, I'm raring to talk about the set of issues because this
Yeah.
was a really interesting one.
Yeah, this was a
Yeah.
good set.
I have yeah, just up top, I feel like one thing I love about this issue is that well this arc.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard this narrative or not, but definitely amongst like a lot of Black comic fans, when the talk of like what's your favorite milestone book comes up, a lot of people do like Icon, but Icon the character a lot of times gets some unnecessary, I feel unnecessary hate. Now I definitely obviously don't agree with
I mean, he was a Reagan
Augustus's.
Republican.
Well, okay, but see, no, this is what you're doing it too. You're doing it
No, I
too.
know. I was
This
messing
is
with you.
no. This is what it is. But no, and that is the point that people get to. But I feel like this arc really gets into the complexity of
Mhm.
Augustus. And yes, the period when he. But this is why Dwayne McDuffie is the GOAT because
Yeah,
the so the period in which Augustus was like all about the fight and the struggle for black dignity, liberation, pretty much since he landed. He lived, chose to, and lived as a black man, and then there, and we'll get into it in more detail. But I just love the fact that I feel like this arc really disproves the simplicity of that
It
narrative.
does.
It is
It
true
does.
that when you first meet Augustus, he's frustratingly conservative. That being said, it's not like it takes Raquel very long
Well,
to
no,
convince him
because
either,
I mean, what we learn in more detail in this arc and had been hinted at before is he kind of fell into conservatism after his
Right. Which,
firebrand.
well, I'll speak more to that, but that
yeah,
speaks to what was happening in the country, period. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean? And
yeah.
it's yeah, so like the 80s and 90s.
Well, but I guess his wife died in 76, 77.
Sure. But think
It
about
said
this. I
that in
mean,
this.
all right, but like
So yeah.
yes, but
I
all
was
right,
just trying to remember if she died earlier and he helped usher in the era. But no, she died
No, she's
later,
with him
so
at the yes.
he just kind of fell into it.
right, but if you're talking about the late 70s, this is
Right.
after, you
Right.
know, so many of our leaders were murdered, you know what I mean, like systematically
No.
and
I'm trying to agree with you, Marcus.
oh
I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah.
I was just doing math in my head. Because initially I was remembering Harlem Renaissance, and for whatever reason I thought she died young, and then I remembered, oh no, she died in the 70s. That changes it entirely. If he'd
Mm,
started to go conservative like during the New Deal, it becomes a different ball game than going conservative during the Reagan Revolution.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like
Particularly because he pulled back only 10 years into it rather than, you
right,
know,
but yeah,
Trump
yeah,
it,
years into it.
yeah, I mean this is getting into a lot of Icon's backstory that we hadn't really gotten in a single setting before. And I mean,
Right.
okay, so we kind of just leapt into it. We should probably give the listener some mild amount of context. So this is following up on the events of Mothership Connection, where Icon finally made contact with his people from his home planet and has now left and given up the mantle of Icon to rejoin his people in the what's the name of his like space
Terminus,
the
I believe,
yeah. I was trying to remember if there was like the name for the
the
collective
moon.
or whatever.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, the people. Well,
The yeah,
it's all right, but
the unity or something. Like it's there's a term for it, but I can't remember it. But he's going back home, and uh Raquel is left on Earth, and she is also pregnant, and thus giving up the mantle of Rocket at least temporarily. But also having to realize that like now she no longer has Icon around. She no longer has this friend that she's spent all this time with and developed this relationship with and developed this close bond with in a way that's very devastating for her. But at the same time, now we're getting into, okay, Icon has finally made it back to his people, and one of the very first things that happens, which I absolutely love, is that like he basically gets off the spaceship and they're like, oh, and his people are like, oh yeah, it was this big deal because like basically nobody ever dies in our civilization, so it was wild that you
Hmm.
did. So we're gonna have this big party and everything, and it's like, oh yeah, and meet the guy that we cloned, who's your like backup replacement dude, because since death is unknown in our society, we just made a new version of you from your like brain recordings. And so there's this intensely awkward thing of him being like, oh yeah, shit, there's a whole other me here. um which I first of all, that's a great science fiction conceit. That's fantastic. But
Right.
then also the basis for what happens in a lot of this arc, at least in space, is that Icon is basically being the advocate for
Right.
Earth in a really like this is I was
And
trying to
it's
think
also
about this.
revealed that his being a lawyer in some ways kind of predates his time on Earth too.
Yes, because it's what he did when he was, space Arnis, whatever, space, when he was in space, when he was a space guy, uh, and he is so he gets the chance to essentially argue for whether or not Earth should be destroyed because they've started developing stuff like Q juice, and they might get to interstellar travel in the next 900 years. So basically, hey, should we destroy these guys before they destroy us, or should we just let them be? And Icon is chosen to represent Earth. And like this is I was trying to think about this. This is like sort of the culmination of Icon's narrative in a purely science fictional context, and even with more than that too. Like he is he he's the man who fell to Earth. He lived here for 150 years, and now he's finally gotten back and has to basically make a report. And like this is sort of the culmination of what would be his narrative if this was like a self-contained thing, is him having to go back and be like, okay, here's what I learned while I was on Earth. And it's a huge moment and a huge part of this narrative. And he gets to sit down and give not only his own history but the history of Earth itself, which is it's one of those great sci-fi bits where he's describing like, well, yes, on this planet they have this thing where for some reason they divide themselves into castes based upon the color of their skin, which is such a bizarre practice. It's the outsider's view of Earth,
Which
which is
which
always
actually just real quick,
mm,
I just want to point out that while it's not something that necessarily is was 100% coined like after the 2000s, definitely like Isabella Wilkerson wrote her book on caste. I think it was titled Caste, and it deals
yeah.
with the idea of viewing race and racism and these constructs through the lens of, especially how it exists in the United States through the lens of
Right.
caste, you
in
know.
in that it is a caste system, even though we don't like to call it that or think of it as that.
Right,
Like
right.
we
So it's
sort of in
just,
denial about it. No, you're right. I mean, yeah,
yeah.
no, thank
So
you.
absolutely, this is just another example of, Milestone and Dwayne like really
Ahead of the
just being
curve.
ahead of their time. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's as a culmination of Icon's whole narrative as the guy who fell to Earth and now has to defend it as, the brother from another planet. Like he's now having to sort of present Earth in as neutral, not neutral, but as accurate a light as possible so they can decide what they're going to do with the planet. And it's for a superhero book, it's a weird move. For a Milestone book, it makes perfect sense. And like I get what they're doing and I like it because it's such I it's okay, so it's not just Icon arguing on behalf of Earth. It's also then Darnice or Raquel sort of proving it at the same time because she's finding a new icon, a new rocket, a new way to make everything work back on Earth. And it's when you were talking about McDuffie like having not having to, but making Icon into a conservative, like from a science fiction perspective, it makes absolutely perfect sense. A friend of mine told me that, like, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. He's a dude who came from the perfect space world and now has to live on Earth, which is this backwater nothing place. And like, why wouldn't he be as conservative as possibly? He's got to live here and just kind of make the best of it. He knows what paradise is, and this ain't it. So he's just like making the best of it while he has to before he can finally get back home.
Can
So
I add one thing? Oh,
yeah, yeah. Oh, please, I'm monopolizing.
I think the key thing with that, and I mean, well, I'll talk about it more when you get to that point. But I think that if you think about the fact that Icon is here, basically been here like 200 years, um, the because his conservative phase is relatively short in comparison.
Yeah,
Like he's basically been about
true.
the struggle for the majority of the time, and like that he was dealing with not only grief, he was dealing with grief and frustration, and he also did, in a lot of ways, give up and give into a popular narrative that really
Yeah.
took place and when you following like the civil rights movement, following the Black Power
Yes.
movement.
There's
So
that.
that's
There's that
all I'm
moment.
at.
No, no, no. I mean, because yeah, there's that moment where he's like, reflecting on. He's like standing behind Martin Luther King, at the I Have a Dream speech or something. It's some moment
Mm-hmm.
like that, and he's like, yeah, finally we won. We did it. We succeeded at achieving equality. Like the battle was finished, which is very much what the narrative of the arc of history has finally bent towards justice. America's great now. Everything's fine. Like that was the narrative of
Which
the
which
moment of the 90s.
he stopped listening because even Dr. King
Yes. Yes.
absolutely would be the first one to tell you that those achievements
Yeah.
in 64 and 65 weren't the culmination.
Yeah, they were the start. But yeah, I mean it's crucial that, like you said, I mean it's probably that he's dealing with grief, but it's also partly that he thinks that the battle is over, which again, like that's the narrative that like I got in school growing up. Is like, yep, racism's done because we had civil rights leaders and everything's
And who pushed
great
that
now.
narrative?
Yeah, well, yes, yeah.
Plymouth
It's
Rock landed on us. Right.
yeah. So it's
White folk.
yeah. No, I mean it makes sense for Icon as a character that this is where he stopped at the time, and also now he
Though
having been reawoken to stuff through
I
Rocket is
I
realizing,
also
oh no.
like that he acknowledged that he forgot that their lifespans were shorter.
Yes. Yeah.
That he had
That's
gotten where he got, and he was fed up with people making excuses because he'd managed to forget that, yeah, he got where he got, but he
Ooh.
essentially took 3 lifetimes to get there.
yeah.
And Lord knows I've argued with people who have voiced the same things that he was voicing,
Oh,
Like
throughout
yeah.
my youth.
I
And
pull
during
myself
this
up.
time period, yeah.
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 Yeah,
Not many
it's
black people, yeah.
yeah. No, it's this is a really powerful issue, and like I mean as part of the arc too. It's like it's not just this one issue obviously, but like this arc of this specific issue of Icon having to argue and be like, yeah, okay, here's where I was, here's how my eyes got reopened to what's actually going on in the world. Here's when the scales fell from my eyes again. Like, acknowledging the huge impact that Raquel has had on him, which of course is fantastic because I like that she's been the driver of so much in this. And like then having to acknowledge, yeah, okay, my the work isn't done and maybe I'm not done either. Which is why I'm a little disappointed at how the actual sort of conflict plays out. But I mean, that's the bigger that because that's the bigger thing for me is like, so we have simultaneous with all this, him in space having the space lawyer battle over whether or not Earth deserves to be saved. We get the other half, which I really like on the whole, where it's Raquel training Darnice and trying to find a replacement for Icon, to take his place while he's gone. Which I don't know if it's indicated that she's sort of deluding herself into thinking it's temporary when it's played as if it's going to be forever. But yeah, she's thinking like, oh, we need to have a new Icon. We need to have a new guy who can be him. And there's a great little montage of her asking every other hero in the
Yeah.
Milestone
And
universe.
for what it's worth, she's still 15, and
Yeah.
she's always been somebody who's taken on a lot, has kind of like natural leadership and organizational like skills, you know what I mean? But she's still a
Mm,
kid. So what you said makes perfect
yeah.
sense that she's, possibly like, deluding herself and maybe even in over her head because it's kind of like, she also before she oh, you didn't get to Buck yet, but anyway,
Well,
I'll let
yeah,
you
well, we'll
keep
get there.
going. You keep going.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. I mean, I'm also just kind of doing this as a recap, but it's
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
there's that great little montage of her like talking about Static and Hardware and everybody else trying to get them to stand in for him. And
Mhm.
finally, of course, to get back to Buck Wild, Mercenary Man, last seen in Icon number 13. Um, and the whole thing with Buck, I don't feel qualified to comment on apart from I think it's absolutely phenomenal and it's such
Oh, I
a
will.
crucial part of this. But yeah, like
She sends him to the library and he comes out Thor.
yeah, and he comes out like a revolutionary, and it's funny in a way that like God, this is Dwayne McDuffie to the core because yeah,
It
he's
is, yeah.
having to act like Icon, which means also talking with like, proper diction and sounding like a real educated guy, which means that he's also sounding like Thor. And like it
Right.
gets God, it gets so good
I mean,
because
No, it's
they even
yeah,
did the lettering once in a
yes,
way that made it feel very much like he was introducing himself as Thor when
right.
he
yeah,
introduced himself as Icon.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
And I
and
should just point out just for context, because it's been a while since we spoke about Buck Wild, but like he very much was, Dwayne McDuffie was on the record about how he was frustrated by Luke Cage, especially and obviously like people have added complexity and um humanized Luke Cage in a lot of ways over the years, including David Walker. But like yeah, in his original iteration, yeah, it's kind of rough. And I could speak for myself, and definitely I spoke to many black comic creators and comic readers where it was like Luke Cage was original Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, was complex in the sense that uh we like we read him and we rocked with him because it was what we had, you know what I mean? But we were also very well aware. And like for me personally, I think I've talked about this on the podcast. Obviously, I was a big Marvel kid, but there was such frustrating stuff when not just Luke Cage, but when a lot of like even your favorite Marvel writers had to write dialogue for black characters. You know what I mean? And like there was like a default diction and everything that kind of like everybody had regardless, of who they were. And so Luke Cage, though, it was dialed to 10. And it was so apparent to all of us that this was a white person writing what they thought that a streetwise black person would sound like. So I say all
Yeah,
that
he
to
was
say like
definitely created by three very
very
Archie
white
Goodwin,
men.
George Tuska, and Roy Thomas.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was also trying to look up. I forgot to actually get the specifics, but I was wondering what they were doing with Luke Cage at the time because I'd be curious to know. Like, was there anything?
So there was a 90s series. It was
Yes,
okay. It was like better, but it was like, actually, wait, I'm forgetting who worked on it. I did read it at the time.
yeah. I remember
Um,
there was like something in the '90s. I don't remember who did it, and then there was the Max book in the 2000s by was that Brubaker? I want to say it was Brubaker, but yeah, like I don't think they were doing anything huge with him at the time.
yeah, but
So
that's the thing is, oh, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I'm just saying, like, you're right. I mean, he is one of
Oh,
those characters where,
here the series had no dedicated creators or storylines until Christopher Priest became the writer with issue 111, until
mhm.
the issue was canceled with 125, working alongside MD Bright. Priest, was criticized within Marvel for reducing Cage's use of stereotypical black dialogue. This
I'm
isn't
so surprised.
Wikipedia,
Dag.
but
No, come on.
cited
I
to
believe that.
Power Man and Iron
Yeah.
Fist in back issue number 45 from Tomorrow's Publishing. They generally are pretty well sourced, so
Yeah. But
I'm
that's a
gonna say that
perfect
that's
example, right? Even Christopher Priest,
right.
that like, is frustrated. Not even, but like, like the writers themselves, who, yeah, grew up with Luke Cage, but also were like, we could do
There
better,
was a
had that
new
frustration.
series called Cage in '92 that removed most of the blaxploitation elements of the character.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean,
So, yeah.
so this is sort of the Buck Wild redemption. I don't even want to say redemption arc because he was already kind of an interestingly nuanced character, but
Well, yeah, and I would say just real quick, like I think this is the where even more nuanced. I think McDuffie, before what happens, which I know you'll get to, McDuffie was giving him an opportunity, and I think we kind of went on a tangent. But all I wanted to say briefly about what we were talking about with the dialogue, um, is it's just vintage McDuffie like
yeah,
brilliance because he could have just kind of made him like talk just like Icon and mess up, but it was very much a dude who just like crammed a bunch of like reading and knowledge and was encouraged to take all that knowledge and put it towards sounding like Augustus Freeman. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's yeah, like it's just so well written. It's well written
It's
in character as him trying to be in character. Also, yeah, just having digested a bunch of books, but maybe not had time to fully digest them yet.
Yeah, because he starts off and he's literally doing Thor dialogue. Fear not, fair maiden, as long as I draw breath, the forces of good shall e'er have a champion. So swears Icon. But
Yeah.
then in 25, once we do there's like a 6 month time skip after the, is that when the baby? Yeah, after the baby's born. It's
Yeah.
the previous issue. Um, then we see him, or actually no, back in 24 even he's doing that. He's delivering dialogue in a way that is like revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darnese
Yeah,
gives
because
it
they went to a black bookstore with yeah,
yeah, third
and
world books. Yeah.
yeah.
Many thanks, my Nubian sister. This is just another example of how cooperation between black men and women will lift our race to parity with the oppressors. And it's again, like I feel weird commenting on it at all, but like it's so good and it's so it's I really love seeing what they do with Buck Wild and making him not yeah, I don't even know how to comment on it. I like it. Like I clearly
No, I
I
think
love what
that
they do with him.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well,
Say
that's the thing. I mean, I think he began. Not think. I mean, Glenn McDuffie did say like he began as his critique and satire. And I think Glenn McDuffie was pretty ruthless,
oh,
previously in it.
completely,
Not
yeah.
that I hate it. I enjoyed it, and I knew what he was doing instantly when I read it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say like he definitely like I would say like showed compassion and allowed him some level of growth and nuance in this art.
Yeah. And there's even I mean, we won't get to it for a while, but there's further opportunities in the book for him to show there's further opportunities where he gets to show off what he became and what character he was and what he was doing as a character. That's a very vague way to put it, but I don't want to spoil anything. But like, yeah, so Buckwild and Dardice have taken over as Icon and Rocket, while Raquel has given birth to Amistad, her son. She has a lovely little recounting of like where his name comes from. Um, and there's they do the time skip. I mentioned the time skip, which on the one hand I was a little bit iffy about. I'm like, I hate them when they kind of just do a random time skip, but it makes a lot of sense in here where we don't really want to have to follow like the whole the whole birth process and everything for Raquel. So it's I end up liking a lot that they just sort of jumped ahead and were like, yeah, it's 6 months later. Let's get to it. Um, I also I forgot to also mention like the great bits of Raquel training Darnice. There's some great fun banter between the two of them as Darnice is learning how to use the belts, and Raquel gets to show off her skills, not just like as a person who uses the belt, but also like a teacher. And like there's a real I don't know. I liked their back and forth a lot. It felt very naturalistic, and I liked how they got to interact with each other as friends, but also there's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of tension, and they're sort of not competing over a role, but it's a role that's one's handing out to the other.
Right.
It's a neat dynamic that I'm trying to. I don't really have a lot of other. I can't think of a lot of other places where I've seen that specific dynamic. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty unique.
it's great. I like that bit a lot. But yeah, we move on to Icon and Rocket, the new Icon and Rocket. And they're stopping criminals. They even have a two-page 2-bit supervillain named Trapshot who gets completely demolished in yeah, it's like because he's completely important. And then we get into I was telling this out of order, I guess, but then we get into the here's the history of Icon. And here's the part where I think that here's the thing that I think lets the story down a little bit, which is the stuff with like Icon's big horrible nemesis Oblivion, who shows up on Earth and starts just randomly massacring people because that's Oblivion's whole deal. He loves killing. He's obsessed with killing and death and murder, and like he's also from Icon's world, at like the whole trans species collective or whatever. So where death isn't a reality, so he is obsessed with actually making death happen. And now that he's on Earth, he can do that. And he's like as a character, I get the purpose of Oblivion because you got to have some kind of villain that sums up things for Icon and especially in this arc, sort of represents the world that Icon left behind and what he had to give up and so forth. But it's also he's he's just kind of not a very satisfying villain to me. Like I don't he's very I don't know. I mean, I'm curious how you guys feel too, because I just found that to be sort of the weakest part of this whole sequence is the stuff with Oblivion, and I'm curious if I'm alone on that or what.
No, I mean, I think it worked for me because I mean, so my experience of this arc is there was so much like, rich stuff going on with what was going on with Raquel
Yeah,
and and New Rocket, and then Buck, and then so to me, I think that Oblivion did what he had to in the sense of an antagonist because it this when I'm just looking at the entirety of this arc to me isn't about the big battle. It's like the big battle is a culmination, and if anything, the big battle in Oblivion's murder spree is story wise is the vehicle to create a need for Icon to come back to Earth. You know what I
right.
mean? Like, so I think in that sense, I think I don't think he was like, yeah, he definitely wasn't a top tier villain for me, but he also wasn't like, oh,
He
like he's
needed to be.
bad. I think he was appropriately, uh, imposing and just a pure pain in the ass and challenge, um, an antagonist. But yeah, he definitely wasn't like a top tier villain. But I think in the arc of the story, to me, this was way more about all the cool character stuff that they were doing.
Yeah, that's I mean, because that is the thing of like all the best stuff is I mean everything but Oblivion is the best stuff. This is kind of the culmination of all of Icon, and I don't remember how many issues are past this. I think there's actually a significant number past this. I think it goes up to like what 40 or something.
I believe
Um,
so. Yeah.
yeah, but it does feel like this is the thrust of Icon. The whole idea that the person being put on trial over Earth is the brother from another planet who gets dropped in and lived as a black man in the South and had the worst possible exposure to the worst possible parts of humanity, and he's the one who's sort of arguing for our inherent right to exist and whether or not we should continue and so forth. Like that's that's the ending of Icon in sort of a conventional way. Not in the sense that like I think the book should stop, but it's also like it just that's that's sort of the thesis statement of that part of the book, of the big sci-fi ideas part of the book, which is not entirely what Icon is about, because Icon is also about race and about history and about heroes and identity and memory and everything else. But like Icon himself, his story as a character is, yeah, I want to get back to my home planet. I've had enough of this place to some degree. And I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I it's a big messy section of the book, and I do like it. I think that there's yeah, again, like Oblivion, you're right. I mean, Oblivion does what he needs to do. Oblivion is the big cackling villain who literally, like, I do also love the revelation that, like, oh yeah, he doesn't really have any powers. He's just using the equivalent of like stage magician technology to kill everybody and like morph into a T1000 puddle and stuff. Like that's parlor tricks, quite literally on Icon's world. Yeah, he's like, yeah, no, this is nothing, guys.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think they do establish like the motivations too. Like, and I'm not saying
yeah,
it's like the richest motivations of all time, but it's like, he does have his obsession with death and oblivion. And I mean, when you really think
yeah,
about like the classic comic book villains, there's not much more there with a lot of them than I mean, like
fair,
this
yeah.
is yeah, like I feel like there's a lot of very celebrated villains that are kind of
Kind of don't
similar.
have anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
remember
mean,
the rich motivation.
Thanos wanted to date the living want to impress his would be girlfriend that he was trying to court who was dead. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
everybody loves the rich motivations of Doomsday, the guy who just shows up to punch Superman
Exactly.
until he
That's
dies.
what. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
I mean, you're right. You're right. Like he doesn't need to have a lot, but I don't know. I can't help thinking that there's a better, not better. I can't. Yeah, look at me. I'm rewriting Dwayne
I,
McDuffie over here.
Well,
But like, I
also
think
remember he was the one that
sabotage Chip.
sent Icon to Earth in the first
Right,
place. So they're
right.
they're connected in that sense.
There's a
Sorry, were you
thematic
gonna say that?
resonance. Yeah.
Ted asked a question earlier, and you know that I had to fall down a rabbit hole. He wondered what Luke Cage was doing in the Marvel Universe, and I discovered that Cage had ended, but like Luke Cage's last appearances in the Marvel Universe before this episode seems to have, or this certainly around the time this issue would have been written, because it was in October and November of 1994, and this came out, or the you got December through May of 95, or December 94 through May of 95 is what we read this month. Um uh, Cage had appeared in a book called Thunderstrike. I don't know
Oh
if
my
any
God,
of
the
you
Thor
remember
one?
when Eric
Oh,
Masterson
Yeah.
had the Thor hammer.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
So,
remember that. I just remember the cover of that, which was so like, oh boy, that was '90s edgy, try hard superhero.
yeah.
Oh, that was oof. They say they're out ogres.
um,
Not
yeah,
kidding.
that appears to be
Oh God,
his
his most recent appearance at the time of this.
his most recent appearance at the time.
Yeah. Okay. That's. I mean, it's interesting. I was mostly just curious because I couldn't see him being. I think at the time he it seems like he would have been one of the characters that Marvel was embarrassed to have lying around, you know? Like I can imagine them being like, can we use Luke Cage yet? Like,
I don't know that they know to be embarrassed. I mean, per like the
fair.
previous. No,
Yeah.
I'm for real.
Yeah,
I
no, no, no.
sometimes I'm
I
bewildered
mean,
by.
his previous
Sometimes
writer had
there's
been black, but it's a guy that I don't recognize.
who.
Do you guys know Mark McLaurin?
Not
No, I
off the
don't
top of my head.
recognize the name.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did
but
the entire Cage series,
Oh,
the
okay.
20 issues of his series before this. But then
yeah,
it looks like his next like appearance after, I mean, I guess he was in Marvels, but that's kind of a different thing. When you're talking the actual MCU, his next
Yeah.
appearance
yeah. I would
after
say
that is
modern
in like
modern day.
Sensational Spider-Man
Yeah,
Hmm.
in 96.
yeah. I would say Luke Cage has been rehabilitated, but Dwayne McDuffie I
Yeah.
was very much satirizing him as he had been
Yes.
throughout his childhood,
Yeah.
especially
That's.
at
Yeah.
a time when there was a dearth of, and it's not like there's an abundance of Marvel and DC black heroes, but there was very much a dearth at that
Yeah.
time. So that was like what you got, you know what I'm saying? But like, yeah,
Yeah. It was this or Black Panther would have been around, but probably not. I don't
no
know if he
black,
was.
yeah, black. So black, no, I very vividly remember in
Oh
my
yeah.
childhood, like
Oh wait, the '90s.
you would occasionally get Black Panther was like '60s, but like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
would
yeah. But I mean, like,
occasionally get no no, and ironically, uh, he debuted in '66, like literally within a month of, or possibly the same month that Huey Newton
the
and Bobby
actual Black
Seale
Panther.
were forming the Black Panthers as college
Yeah,
students. You know,
it's one of those wild historical coincidences that never fails to get me. But yeah, but I was just trying to think because at the time was the Priest run would have already been going on, right?
no, 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 not during this. So Priest was like at 2000, I believe.
Or
The
not
Black Panther?
sorry, not
Yeah.
Priest. Who Walk? No, who was?
So there was so you would periodically get a run. Like for instance, around this time, maybe a little bit later, maybe a little earlier, Dennis Cowan had done a run. Um Cowan illustrated it, and I forget who wrote that one. I love that one though. It's like a four-issue miniseries. But that's how it was when I was a kid. Like you would get
Yeah,
like an occasional four-issue Black Panther thing. There was
yeah,
Panther's Prey, which was written
yeah.
by who's
The
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 white dude
McGregor,
who had written a
Dom
long
McGregor,
run? Huh?
Don.
McGregor.
Yeah,
McGregor. Yeah, 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 yeah. I like Panther's Prey. Like that. Yeah, that was cool.
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but that was, and then I would jump all over it when there was like a Black Panther
Yeah,
miniseries. Yeah.
McGregor had the first really great run on Black Panther, period,
Oh yes, he
and
did.
then
Because there was
lost.
some whiffs before that as well.
yeah.
What?
Well, no, I'm just saying there was
Oh,
some whips before that.
there were definitely
I
some
love
whiffs before
Stan and
that.
Kirby, but
Well,
they weren't up for the
but
task.
like I will say one of the greatest crimes Marvel has ever committed and one of the greatest crimes Kirby committed was, they were doing McGregor and actually some black artists
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
were
yeah,
in the wrist were doing their great run when
yeah.
Kirby came back to
Kirby snaked
Marvel
them.
and
Yeah,
rebooted
Oh, that's
Black
right.
Panther with the stupid like frog.
Hey, King
no.
Solomon's frogs, man. King Solomon's no.
That's
I
right.
get it. I'm not going to defend King Solomon's
You know what?
frogs.
You just summed up my experience as a Black comic fan reading Marvel because like Kirby is I have so much respect, artistic respect for Kirby, but that was some real grade A white man colonizer shit right there. What you
Yeah.
just described, like
Yeah.
for real. It's kind of like I started this first. Like I'm gonna show you how to really do it. We're gonna
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
my God,
like the
was it
original
horrible?
Black
It was
Panther
horrible.
comics, yeah. And when he popped up in Fantastic Four, this was a sin that it definitely took Marvel a while to correct, where they would just color the Wakandans and just black people in general gray. And
Oh God,
and
yeah.
it's like you guys are coloring brown like tree trunks and other things brown. Like you can handle like making a brown color, But even with Doc Martens dies. So I digress.
No,
I could
hey,
speak
this
all day about this.
nothing but digressions on the show. No, we're here
Well,
for
I mean, that is one of our things.
it.
So like
It's, yeah.
I know. I'm trying
Um,
to keep the train on the rails though.
no, you're right though. Yeah, no, I mean it's
I'm just trying to find like the mid 90s Black Panther stuff
yeah. I was trying to.
just because
I
I'm
couldn't remember
interested right now.
who was the person
I
writing it.
think
But yeah,
Panther's
I mean,
Prey was early '90s, but yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Ted.
yeah. No. I mean,
I'm in my rabbit hole, so you guys get to
I
talk and
could tell.
sure, perfect.
I get to keep finding stuff.
Ooh,
Okay,
nice.
we got it.
It is
Yeah.
Panthers Prey was 91.
Yeah.
Oh, that late. Okay. For some reason, I thought that was earlier. I don't know. I thought it was like right after Panther's
It's
Quest.
He
90
did make
early '90s
appearances in
and
the life of Captain Marvel and Knights of Pendragon
Huh. Okay. Huh?
mhm. Yeah, I was
Anyway.
just saying
and
early
the
'90s and
Infinity
early late
Gauntlet.
'80s are pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is. I mean, this is the cultural stew that we're in right now. This is the state of comics and particularly race in comics at the time. That is this.
Well, and this is a good time for me to bring up one of the things that Joe Illidge highlighted when he was on
Yes, which I'm sorry I couldn't make. But
last week, and that's DCSoWhite.com. And we're currently up to 1,140 days since DC Comics published an ongoing comic book for a black character in their mainline continuity. It
oh, I
was
didn't know
I
that
Am
existed.
Batman number 18 was published on February 14th, 2023.
Oh God.
And that's
Yeah.
with an asterisk because I do contend it's the laziest possible thing you can do and I'm not even
Have a
coming for it feels weird to sound like the racists who are always like why do you gotta turn Spider-Man black, but I will
right.
say it is a shortcut as opposed to like allowing like black creators room and space without the stress of hitting a certain sales number to create a new black character that they perfectly retain ownership to. You know what I mean? But either way, or at least have some type of good deal. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm saying I Am Batman is still got an asterisk because it's still Batman oriented.
Yeah, it's a character part of the Batman family who is not really he
I
gets to
mean,
he
it
gets
counts, but
it counts, but
yeah,
he's part of an existing sort of chain of
I'm just
characters.
saying this props up the narrative of the idea of DC so white. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. No,
Because this
that's
is the furthest they'll step out. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't have beef with I Am Batman existing, but it's just
Well,
like
I
it
mean,
just shows their caution that they're not
this
willing
is
to go.
actually it's to look at. They also point out that yes, there's an absolute Green Lantern, but they can say that like it requires the absolute title to be successful. Um, Even when it comes to miniseries, like the number of miniseries they've done since 2000 fit nicely on a screen.
Mhm.
Um,
But
and they're
miniseries, that's what I'm talking about. Like I'm not
yeah,
ongoing though, right? But yeah,
right. But even I mean. even the miniseries, it's a relatively short list.
Hmm.
Um, and there's just not enough transparency in sales numbers to have
Hmm.
any idea whether or not they truly don't sell, particularly given their lack of promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So DCSoWhite.com.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that was a resource, but I'm not surprised that there's
It
something.
is. It is. Um, by the time this is out, it'll be too late. But Joe's also pushing hard on the final order cutoff for the second printing of the new history of the UC or DCU Dakota
The
incident.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Either way, whenever you hear this, just make sure you get it if you haven't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Get it. Help it sell out and go to a third printing.
yeah. Show people
You
there's a demand.
know,
But yeah, I mean,
because
this is a not a finale, not a finale for Icon, but it definitely feels in a way like it's the culmination of this specific part of his character being
Yeah.
the person who's having to advocate on behalf of Earth, and it's
It may
I
not be the end of Act Three, but it's definitely decisively the end of an act.
yes, yeah, and I
well, it's the beginning of year three, so it makes
yeah.
sense. I mean, it's in issue 25, this stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, which also has some
Um,
lovely bits of like it's sort of like prose written stuff where there's these long
mhm.
stretches about his life, which I think is really well done. And also, I can't remember what parts have and haven't been revealed at this point, but it nicely sums up what we do and don't know about him. It gives us,
Mhm.
full history of like, oh yeah, then in this
Yeah, it
era,
really fleshes out his
So,
history and life.
something that we haven't done in a while that I'm in the mood to do, just because I mean, because we're on the topic of there just not being enough representation, et cetera. But I want to look at what else came out March 21st, 1995. The
mm.
uh okay, we've got Aliens and Berserker. I don't remember that at all. Do
Wait,
either of
Berserker or
you?
Predator?
No, it just says Aliens Berserker.
I don't even know what that
Was it
is.
even written or drawn by anybody cool? This is a dark horse.
Oh, okay,
John
yeah,
Wagner. I'll give it John Wagner.
yeah.
Eh.
Um,
Um, Amazing X-Men 3.
Amazing X. Is that? Wait, was this Age of Apocalypse?
Yeah, so Age of
Yeah, it sounds
Apocalypse
like
is
it.
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
Um,
More fun nonsense.
Azrael number 4.
Oh,
Shadow of the Bat had the Joker, so I mean that was kind of cool. Beavis and Butthead number 15.
I watched the
Hey,
show, but I've
DC
never read
had
a
Black
single
Lightning
issue.
number 4 going,
okay. So wait, so there was an ongoing for Black Lightning at the time. Okay, that's not nothing. I'd be curious to know more about that.
but
I mean,
by
not
Jenny Blake Isabella and Eddie Newell.
okay, okay. Yeah, I didn't. I'm not up enough on like what and when DC has ever done with Black
There was a
Lightning, but
Conan, there was a Demon. I'm just what I'm really looking for is, was there anything like good?
yeah.
I guess uh one of the writers that will not be named was making his name on Doom 2099 that month.
Oh yeah.
Um
Ugh.
Hellblazer was around.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Who was on Incredible Hulk at the time? Was it a good run?
Was that still Peter David?
It
This
was
I was
Peter David. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
with Liam Sharp penciling. So, I mean, that was probably a decent comic. Uh, Kabuki was underway
Oh
at
yeah.
Caliber, but probably in even less shops than Milestone.
Oof.
Um, Moonshadow number 9.
Okay. It's an interesting blend of big stuff at the time, big stuff kind of warming up. Like it's the Age of Apocalypse thing was the huge thing that Marvel was doing,
Right.
but DC didn't.
Sandman was underway. It was number 68 even.
Oh wow. Okay, so that was actually coming up at
This
the end.
was Mark Millar's run on Swamp Thing.
Ooh, okay, yeah. So we got some controversy going. What was
Mike Grell and Shaman's Tears.
they weren't yet doing
Starman number 7.
you mentioned Shadow of the Bat, but they weren't yet doing like Nightfall or any of that stuff, were they? That would have been
I don't think Nightfall was
95.
going on right now.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
death of Clark Kent and Superman number 100.
Yeah, he's always doing that.
But my Zombie number 12. So my real point is like with Icon and Zombie coming out this week, they were definitely two. I mean, no matter how you roll in terms of what you like, if if they weren't if Mar I think it's really hard to argue that Milestone didn't have 20% of the top 10 comics that came out this week
Mm-hmm.
in terms of quality.
Yeah.
In terms of sales, who knows? Because they don't get
It's all
right.
yeah.
Sales is not a barometer of art quality.
Yeah.
But in
And
terms of quality, if we and like I certainly don't want to go through all of the books that came out this week because some of them look horrible. But like, if I'm all but certain that if we take any week during Milestone's run and picked out the 10 comics that we thought were likely to be best, we would absolutely feel like Milestone not only belonged with them, but probably near, more top 5-ish than top 10.
mm-hmm.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So
This is
this
just something that every time I revisited it, it just really annoys me that
especially
like
because this is also I think I don't know the numbers on it, but I would hazard a guess that this is when the money is starting to not make as much sense for Milestone and they're having to think about shuttering because
right.
like I know that the long hot summer storyline, which is what happens at the very tail end of this sequence, is kind of the Milestones. I don't not swan song.
I mean, technically we have 2 compendiums left, but I think the
Yeah,
second compendium has a lot of the stuff where they
from
came
later
back.
years.
Right.
Yeah, and it is. I think I would guess. I obviously I don't know anything, but I would guess that at this point the writing was perhaps on the wall that they knew that they weren't going to get much more if they had any more at all. Again, even though Icon technically goes to issue 40, like I don't know how much of that like. I mean, Shadow Cabinet
But
is
I mean,
almost like yeah.
just from a pure reader standpoint and a pure like I'm involved in a comic shop that sells stuff standpoint. I mean, I'm still frustrated now because these compendiums are awesome, but I don't
Oh
get
yeah.
somebody into the Milestone universe with these compendiums.
Yeah, these are
I need smaller trade paperbacks.
yeah. Well, I mean
Look,
that's the problem with
I need the
look,
$15 or $20 bite
you're
to
you're stepping into my shoes. This is I mean this is what it is. This is what it is to love this medium. I love some stuff from the big two, but it's like, and that which is where well, that's a larger discussion. Sure,
yeah.
but it's yeah, I am so dissatisfied with what they are doing and we waited so long for a milestone relaunch and it's the way they've done it. It's the lack of commitment on DC's part has been different. That's all I say.
yeah.
Yeah. Um especially because I mean steering us back a little bit more towards the actual pages. Like
Yeah.
this is a really like as much as I was complaining about Oblivion not being that interesting a villain, which I mean you're absolutely right. It doesn't really matter. We've had some plenty weak villains lying around in comics for
But I mean,
yeah.
I
But
also thought that he was a good riff on Venom from the time.
that's
And actually more dangerous because he's making
Yeah, way
spikes.
more
Venom didn't make
dangerous.
spikes and stuff.
yeah, I didn't actually think I didn't realize the Venom connection, but my God, you're absolutely right. That's what he is. He's a Venom, or also like a
I mean,
Carnage guy, like Streets of Noise
that's
or
something that we haven't talked about a
Maximum
ton. I think
Carnage.
Milestone like kind of brilliantly lampoons a lot of um
Like trends or the
Just
a
stuff that's
lot of
existing
mainstream
characters. Yeah.
stuff going
yeah,
on at the time, but in a way that's like it's both lampooning and doing it so much better.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and
Hey
the
guys.
Venom parallel is definitely there because it's like one of the things I don't know that we've touched on is that Oblivion, gives himself the cape and not the exact carbon copy of Icon's costume, but enough that
Yeah.
people are like, oh no, Icon's
That's
tearing up the city. And,
I kind
it's
of
similar to Spider-Man and
yeah, I
Venom.
kind of assumed. I don't know if this was ever sort of stated in the text, but I kind of assumed it was a thing where there was some sort of like psychic field or something that made him look exactly like Icon to people in the comic. Because like Raquel and Darnice are looking at this dude who's like, when we say that he's black, we don't mean that he's African American. We mean he's literally like solid, like full color black. Like
Right. I
he
think
has no
from
But
face.
Yeah, I
but
think
he's
for them
got the
they just
cape.
yeah, I don't know if
Yeah,
I
that's
read it as they thought it was like just a costume or a
okay.
mask or something.
I assumed it was a thing
Right.
where it's like for some reason they literally can't tell the difference even at close range. So I thought it was like he had some sort of
Or,
face
they've been
changing.
reading the Secret Wars and they know about the black costume.
That's a pretty good explanation too. I'll accept that. That's a headcanon, yeah. Um,
I mean,
but yeah, I mean, Oblivion shows up, starts tearing up the place. They think it's either Icon or then they think it's Buck Wild who has for some
Mm.
reason gone Buck Wild and decided to blow the place up, and so they go to stop him. Of course, it's not. And then this is where we get the Buck Wild, literally having his final battle, and he's
Yeah, he
sacrificing
goes out
himself.
like a hero.
He goes out like a
yeah.
hero, and like that's when I was saying. I said earlier that I don't think it's right to call this a redemption arc for Buck Wild because I don't think he really needed redemption exactly. He's not. It's not that he's that kind of character, but
Yeah, but
like,
you can use that term. I think it's fair. I don't
yeah,
think redemption arc
I
exclusively
think
means you were
I think of it
terrible.
more
yeah.
as a self-actualization arc.
Yeah, ooh,
Yeah.
self-actualization arc. I love that. Yes, because this is him, proving like, yeah, he's not just the mercenary man. He's not just here to get paid. He is here to live up to the ideals that he's been taught and realized, and like to finally be like Icon. And he doesn't make it, but he stops the guy for as long as he can. And like, I wish they'd gone even further, like have him save a bus full of kids or something.
So, I mean, I
Well,
should also toss in, I've always thought it was like somewhat fair for heroes to at least kind of want to get paid sometimes, kind of like comic book writers and artists. They too have to eat and have a place to live and that sort of thing. And like,
Yep.
well,
how often does Peter Parker run into trouble trying to keep jobs because he's going off being Spider-Man?
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, but if you read a lot of like, you know, I mean, the X-Men, well, like depending on the area you're talking about, but like Charles had just inexhaustible wealth.
Yeah.
So that was that was furnishing their lifestyle.
I mean, that's how
Avengers
they kind of
Avengers
kind
are
of
like
hand
government.
wave it with the Avengers is oh, Tony pays them all.
Well,
Yeah.
and they're also like they work for the feds most of the time too,
Right. Right.
So yeah, but all right, so this is the thing, because I mean everybody's probably seen on social media or something the Where's My Money, Honey, where Luke
Yes.
Cage chased down Doctor Doom for $5. Um but
Yeah.
and look, I get being serious about your money, especially when you're not accustomed to having an abundance of it. Um but I mean, to that point, though, one of the last things I think that Buck says as in that final battle is, he used to like fight exclusively for money, or something to that nature, and that now he basically like spoke to the fact that he, I think, sees a purpose in fighting the good fight,
Yeah.
even if it's not
He goes out
exclusively
saying
for
something like,
money.
I'm giving you this one for free or
Yeah,
whatever. And
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think we need more sliding rate or pay as you can superheroes.
Mm.
I
I
just
can,
saved your life. Can you afford to contribute towards my rent?
oh my
Okay,
God,
that's fine. You
he's
get
got
to
his
keep your
Venmo.
life.
He's got the Venmo like symbol on.
Right.
He's got like his Venmo QR code on his chest or whatever. Yeah, no, I like that Buck
This is for
Wild
the future. I'm not saying this is the way it should have been, Marcus
No, 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 it's
or
all good, it's all
Ted.
good.
I'm just,
I was
I'm
just
just,
talking about this arc. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because like
I'm talking about the realities
I hear you.
of 2026. If you're a
I hear you.
superhero,
yeah, or if you're
you,
a regular person.
you might
Well,
need
we
a
want a little bit of
Patreon.
escapism too, though, right? I don't need my superheroes to be exactly like what we're going through
Yeah,
right now.
that'd be a little
That's
depressing.
fair. That's fair too.
But yeah,
I mean,
this is
but should they be like friends where you're like, how do you afford that apartment as a barista?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Are you saying you should be
What level is of escapism
the
do we want?
inferior duplicate of living single?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. I like it.
I watched a chunk of Living Single. It's good. Like it holds up.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, it's yeah,
yeah.
great show.
Anyway, but yeah, this is Buck Wild sort of getting to make a last stand and prove he's a hero to the end. And it's surprisingly like not even surprisingly, but it's hard. It's hard to watch. It's touching. It's
Yeah,
it's depressing. It's like, God, this guy, he gets stabbed through the chest a bunch. He's got blood running everywhere. It's harsh. Like it's really well done in a way that's like it's yeah, it's an I don't think even unexpectedly, but it's a really impressive send off for this character in a way that
yeah,
is it's cool to read, and it's it hammers home the stakes, and it keeps everything it makes it clear what exactly we're facing and what Icon is facing and what he's fighting for. And it of course leads to Icon flying, teleporting back home. He makes some reference to like, yeah, I had to spend all my savings, which like he lives in future space utopia and they still have money. Like I don't anyway. Um, but he teleports back and has to defeat Oblivion, which he does quickly because he has the power to shut off his nanotechnology. Um, and it it wraps up quicker than I would have liked. And frankly, this is the part where I feel as though, again, I have no actual insider knowledge, and I'm just spitballing, but I feel like this is them thinking like, oh, we gotta swivel hard to the Utopia Park Long Hot Summer storyline, because literally, like as he's putting away uh, Oblivion in like a magnetic bubble thingy, the mayor drives up and is like, "Hey, Icon, I've got a whole new storyline for you to jump into," and and it becomes the thing about like Utopia Park, which is this. Utopia Park showed up in Cobalt. It's been mentioned in some of the other comics we've read. I'm trying to remember.
right. Yeah, I
Um,
forget exactly which one, but
yeah, but it's like it's not quite an amusement park. It's like a big complex not like development, but it's something where it's like, hey, there's going to be a whole bunch of new apartments and also like cool attractions and stuff. And it's a whole lot of people have clearly invested a lot of money into it. It's very important to a whole lot of very powerful people. The mayor has gotten a call about it from the governor, who's like, hey, we got to make sure this thing goes through. And so the governor, the mayor, who again, this is the mayor who had like the relationship with Icon until
hmm.
he revealed he was Icon, and then also like exposed her crimes about being involved with the Big Bang. She just sort of screeches up in her limo and is like, hey, we got a whole new storyline to happen over here, come on in. And
Mm.
that's kind of where it pivots at sort of the last minutes. And I mean, I think I may be reading too much into it, but it does feel not rushed but forced, I guess. And I would
Yeah, I mean,
really want to know
I think
where
what
it
you're
came
speaking
from.
to is the nature of events too
Yeah, well,
in
I've
comics.
already, yeah,
They
we
just kind of like
pop up out
they're
of
like, yeah,
nowhere.
yeah, I know you like what's been going on, but we're about to do an event, baby.
Yeah, hold on. We
So,
got a crossover icon. Button your vest. We got to go. It is, and I've sort of when we were talking about Worlds Collide, I mentioned that like I always find events very jarring in the way they happen, and this
oh,
is
me too.
yeah,
Some of them have happened. I remember when I was a kid, there was some arcs I was just loving, and then the event dropped. And sometimes they really didn't pick up the threads afterwards that you were
yeah,
like really looking forward to.
yeah. So this is the sort of official start of this event, and unfortunately, that also means that the whole like trial aspect gets kind of quickly wrapped up where original or no clone Arnis, which is Icon's replacement,
Yeah.
etc. Which is again like what a great sci-fi high concept. You could do a whole book off of that.
But they
Um,
also peacefully coexist. I
yes,
just wanted to
and
point that out.
yeah, that's again that's what makes that a really interesting dynamic for me is like, oh, we kind of have to just sort of both be here. We can't like we're not going to fight about it. We just got to kind of deal with the fact that there's sort of two of me,
What would you
but
guys do if you went away and you came back and your clone was
I don't
living in
know.
your place?
I don't know, man. Depends on how well he's
Go
handling
back
it.
to Earth.
Like, like
Yeah. Oh,
are the bills
oh,
paid? Like, is he fed the dog? Like,
yeah.
No, but that's the thing. Like, I think there's a compelling story, like just in there. Like, I think
The
that's a whole
I
separate
mean,
comic.
I would kind of like to have seen more of the trial. I think that
Yeah,
you're right. It is a separate comic to do that other story, and it would have been
yeah.
cool if the universe was robust enough and had kept going enough that we'd gotten like that 5 issue miniseries of
Oh
Arno
man.
going, oh wait,
Oh
now I'm
man.
Armo too because
Right.
Arno Prime is back. How does
And he's been
because
living
I'm
my
actually
life for the
way more
past 150
interested in
years.
how the clone handles
Yeah.
because how's that
Like,
supposed to work? Am I gonna get just incinerated now
Well,
because
I
the
I'm
original
not the
guy's
original.
back? I mean, how
see
does
to that point, I mean, I just guessed. When I read it, my read was that with whatever their kind of elevated thinking and coexistence that they have on their world, that it's not a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
right?
Yeah.
because
Well,
we're
but
thinking
but it also
as
has never
humans.
happened.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
true, true,
rare
true.
for anybody to
So I
die now.
mean, like no matter how elevated they are, they seem to like understand humans because of their own history. Um, so like based on how terribly we handle things that have never happened and are weird, I don't want to guarantee that they're gonna be as as
Forgiving.
uh well as enlightened in the situation as we might hope they'd be, just because
Oh yeah.
again they're having to um but where I was really going is in terms of them just like showing up and them handing off Oblivion. I kind of like that ending.
Oh,
Rat,
the whole thing of
rat,
him handing it off to DMZ's people who turn out to be like Green Lantern, apparently, like Green Lantern guys,
right.
I
Yeah,
guess.
which I think we had learned that
Yeah, but
before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, you're
rather
right.
than like totally dragging out this so
Villain
I mean, we
content.
already
Yeah.
commented on the fact that Oblivion is he's a
He's a
gag in a
cackling.
lot of
Yeah, he's a
yeah, he's
ways.
cackling
kind of
evil
not the point.
maniac.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Right.
is. You're
So
right. I mean, that's the
so
thing.
like
He's not the point of this story, and I guess I'm kind of
right.
losing the forest for the trees or
and,
whatever.
and you're but like one of the reasons that you're sitting there going I'm surprised, feels abrupt, is like Marvel or DC would have made it a whole 5 issues to deal with all that stuff, and we
Yeah.
wouldn't have noticed until years later that we never reread that part.
Yeah. Good. Fair point. Totally fair point. But yeah, like so the storyline wraps up essentially with Arnis 2 contacting Icon through space telepathy and saying, "Hey, just so you know, like we're going to just leave the situation for right now. We're going to watch what you do in Utopia Park and off of that make our decision of whether or not to blow you guys up. So, just so you know, peace out." Like
yeah,
it sort of kicks the can down the road, sort of, and makes it clear that this upcoming storyline is going to be in its way just as consequential, ideally.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, that is sort of the ending of this storyline. Like we've got and then the final note is that on top of all this, of course, now Raquel and her mom and the whole family are being evicted as part of the stuff for Utopia Park. So
Mm,
it's setting up Utopia Park as the not villain, but as the big conflict that everyone's going to be dealing with for the
right.
next
And
however.
Icon, I mean, you briefly mentioned it, but when the mayor came to him, she basically had been the governor was pressuring
Yes,
her
yeah,
to
to make this
eminent
all
domain
happen.
the people who lived in the project for a
Yes,
better, cleaner project, which we all know how that's worked out in the past
yeah,
for people. But so she like she's pretty stressed about it, but she
yeah.
gives it, she relents, and she goes back to her ex boo Icon and asks him, for his assistance in this, and he doesn't take her up on it. So
He
I mean, I
doesn't
do think this
initially.
is setting up obviously his between that and Rocket and her family being evicted. That's
Yeah,
definitely setting up his I'm sure opposition to Utopia.
yeah. It's and he even tries to pass it off at first, where he says like, "Oh, my business. I no longer live on this. I mean, in this city." which was a nice little kind of slip up. But eventually he kind of caves, and it's like, okay, I guess this is sort of the next major storyline for Icon and Rocket is going to be the Utopia Park stuff, which sure, yeah, this is like Utopia Park is a perfectly like that's the whole idea of like yeah, minority families getting pushed out and like development and sort of gentrification slash also some superhero nonsense. That's a perfectly fine storyline. I'm looking forward to getting into it, but it is also it just feels a little bit. I felt like there should have been a more conclusive ending to the trial stuff, but I get why
Well,
they
I think
did.
where they left it is that
Yeah,
because remember
it's going to
the
be
whole purpose of the trial is that Earth is an unruly adolescent planet,
yeah,
and basically the people of Terminus were like, look, it'd be one thing if they wanted to, mess up their planet on their own, but they are within less than 1,000 years of being able to do interstellar space travel.
right.
At which point they'd become everybody's
Everybody, yeah.
problem. And so they're basically like Earth is on trial. I
Yeah.
can't remember if we really got into that, but like Earth is on
Well, that's
trial. And at the
yes.
end of this, the the prosecution, I guess I should say, they're basically like, all right, we're gonna put it on hold. We wanna they're basically like we're gonna keep our eyes on things, but the trial is not. It's almost like the trial is on hold while they observe what's going on.
Further
And even
development. Yeah.
Icon is like, I don't think this whole utopia thing is gonna be a good
what
demonstration of.
right. What
Yeah.
does it say about the culture of Earth that like the first fiction that I can think of that involved like big interstellar alliances and whatnot, Star Trek, we led it and we were a big part of it, blah blah blah. And everyone since that I can think of, and I'm not deep into sci-fi, but it feels like everyone since, like as soon as the outside intergalactic civilizations discover us, they're like, no, no, no. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
You
No,
guys stay.
yeah, no, absolutely. And well, there's that, and then there's the other thing of limited human imagination going back to, I mean, look, War the World is great, but like, although H.G. Wells has some problems, but it's just funny. You definitely, we've had the trope so many times that obviously if aliens came here, they'd want to conquer us and colonize us, like which because for well, especially European descendants, like that's like kind of how you do things. So it's like those fears are enacted throughout the fiction. But you're right.
Yeah.
I like you did you see uh not the Charlie Sheen one, but Arrival?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like
The
Arrival dealt
translation.
dealt with that well.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, human beings again, propensity for
Yeah.
militaristic reactions almost messed things up. But the
Yeah.
aliens were like, "Hey, man, well, I'll just spoil it for anybody.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet."
Right.
my
Right.
my, pers- my personal favorite about one of those, by the way, is Contact, which I read the
Oh
book
yeah.
of, and
Hmm.
the movie's pretty good. It's not nearly as good
Mhm.
as the book, but the movie is like pretty good at having that whole element in there of like, yeah, how do we understand this message, and
Yeah.
can we take it on faith that this is from a benevolent civilization, or are they just secretly tricking us into blowing ourselves up? So, anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Also, I want
sci-fi.
to say real quick. Wait, don't lose your thought. I want to say anybody's listening who's taking these as sci-fi recommendations, make sure you watch Arrival. The Arrival is a hilariously goofy, kind of bad Charlie Sheen sci-fi movie.
Never even
So,
heard of it.
well, I mean, it's worth a watch if you want to watch something funny and bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sure. No, I have to check that out. I have no idea what that is. Um, yeah, anyway, so this storyline and one of the parts, okay, so this essentially puts things back to not quite status quo, but Icon's back, Raquel's back, Buck is dead, and Darnice has sort of given up the has she officially said she's not going to continue it, or
I
I
think,
can't
well, you know what? I guess we have to
I
see,
don't know if
right?
Raquel's going
Because,
to give her an option.
yeah.
well, yeah, that's interesting because with the like Raquel very much took the belt and jumped in in the heat of a very, very dire situation. And
Yeah.
Darnice was having panic attacks. Like she,
Yes.
as much as good as she had been feeling about being in the role of Rocket, I think the enormity of what she was facing, she was really freaked out. And Raquel was like, "I got this." And so, yeah, I think it's kind of up in the air as to. I'm sure that we're going to see some type of discussion between the two of them um,
I
after
mean,
this.
had Raquel said that she was planning on giving it up permanently? I thought she was
I don't
just
think she
giving it
had
up while she was
decided.
pregnant.
Yeah, I think,
She got really
yeah.
excited about like the costume that Icon gave her before he left and stuff like that. So,
Right.
and that's, I mean, I kind of glossed over it just because I was trying to get through the full summary. But like the Raquel Darny stuff is really good. Like as much as we talked
It
about like
is. It is.
yeah, the Icon Earth on Trial stuff, like the Raquel and Darny stuff is really interesting because it's Darnice is coming into the role of a superhero, doesn't really know what she's doing and is really scared to do stuff at first, but then
Mhm.
gets to the point where she's really eager to do it and almost too eager and like almost accidentally
Yeah,
killing people, and like she eventually gets her footing, but it's still very much like she's a different Rocket from Raquel, which I really
yeah.
like. And their relationship and sort of Raquel having to teach her the ropes but also like accept that she's going to do things differently, that's really solid stuff. I like that those interactions a lot, and they maintain friendships and they're not like at each other's throats through it. Yeah, like I thought that was a really, as much as we talked about the sci-fi stuff, I think that's a really solid part of this arc too, is the two of them
Yeah,
as friends and
I agree. And
co.
you know what I think is interesting, and it kind of, I don't know, avoids the temptation of previous comic book trope. There's a lot of times, obviously, we've had 1,000,001 Bat Family members over the years. I've read 1,000,001 people having their trial by fire and it always feels like they're almost instantly doing Batman stuff without a
Yes.
ton. Like Bruce Wayne used his immense wealth to travel the world, learn from the best of the best, and I think presumably he was doing it for years.
Yeah.
So that explains why he can do all this crazy bat stuff. But then there's a lot of times where other bat family members they got a trial by fire and they're just doing all the bat stuff
Yeah,
without dying.
he just takes in a teenager for like a week and they're
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Like it's a
Look,
long weekend even, it's you give them
yeah,
like two sparring lessons and like here's the bat rope, figure it out.
yeah.
But
So it's
yeah, no.
interesting to see somebody jump into a role, but like it's pretty complex. And then to your
Yeah.
point, I think you mentioned it. You know, Darnice is having a bumpy ride, but Rocket after I think after the time jump or maybe before, Rocket's like, she's doing her thing, Darnice, and she's even like figured out how to do some stuff with the belt that I haven't done.
Yeah, she figures out
So
how to fly with it. Yeah.
yeah, but it's interesting. It's like that alone doesn't specifically make you like a hero, like or not that Darnice isn't a hero, but that alone isn't the whole picture. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's there's still more to it. So the way that I think Raquel saying, "I got this, just please take care of my baby," like was a symbol of the fact that like, yeah, maybe she hadn't figured out all the things Darnay said, but like she had at her heart, like you know what I mean, like
She had
what it is to
hero.
be Rocket. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is sort of back to status quo ish and looking ahead to a new era and moving on to the Utopia Park stuff. And like it's it's interesting, exciting, but we've got the Utopia Park stuff coming up. It's sorry, I don't know where I was going with any of this, but yeah, like we understand that we get more of the Icon backstory and the idea of exactly how much he's lost, and yeah, I genuinely don't know where I was going with this. I was just maybe summing it up, I guess. But like
Yeah.
I liked how much they had put all this together, and also Raquel's had her baby, so now that storyline is not wrapped up at all, but like in a
Right.
new phase. Yeah, it's this ongoing the ongoing Icon narrative, as with all the Milestone books, like their ability to balance all this stuff is so
So I
crucial.
do have one quick question,
Mhm.
and and I I want to preface this with I love Amistad as a name, so like I'm not
Mhm.
bashing the name, but she says she doesn't want to saddle the kid with a name like Augustus, and then calls him Amistad.
Right, but I think she's thinking and that's almost like an in-community joke about like there's some like old names that people have, and like Augustus is, and so I think she's saying more about like old names, but
The old man
Okay.
name.
I think Amistad's
But
pretty
still, it
badass.
felt weird to me.
Amistad's a good name. It is like I do again like Rocket. I know we keep saying it. Like Rocket is the not the main character of this book, but she's such
She
a
is
drive.
no, but she's
She
the
is.
heart of it. She's the
Yes,
driving force.
yeah, the heart there. Yeah, that's and her getting to have
I mean, the
her
first
whole
issue that we
storyline.
read here, where it said Rocket, where it had the rocket spray painted over the icon, is the first
Yeah.
properly titled issue we've had so far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and even though it's Darnice and not Raquel, it still continues that spirit of her being a very different type of superhero
Yeah,
than a lot of the female superheroes, a lot of the black superheroes, a lot of any kind of superheroes that we've had
yeah.
up until now. So,
Also,
yeah,
if you think about it, like just through her journaling, like pound for pound, you really get her voice actually drives the story way more, like
yeah,
throughout the run, like way more
yeah. No,
than Icon.
yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're absolutely right. Like it's her her narration. It's a lot of these. Yeah,
Yeah,
a good
this
chunk
has
of
been Rocket all the way, as far as I'm
yeah.
concerned.
No, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
But yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to what comes next.
Chauvinist, chauvinist salesman.
yeah. Well, sadly, they corrected it with the modern run, but they just didn't bother to give us another arc of it, because it is currently
Hopefully, we can say
titled
yet
Icon of
eventually.
Rocket. Yeah,
But
I
it's
don't
it's
trust
not
them.
feeling good.
Man,
It's been
I
a little
wouldn't be.
while.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
what we could have.
I'd love to be proved wrong.
It.
I would too.
Me too. Me too. I realize I'm looking at the clock, and I know you
Oh
got a
yeah, are
whole
we
other
over?
podcast recording
Oh, I've
tonight.
got an hour,
Oh, I
but
thought.
Oh, okay.
but
Oh, okay. Well, I got dinner to
eight
make.
thirty. 8:30 is when the other one starts.
Oh, I'm looking at my 8:30. Okay,
Yeah,
never
Yeah,
mind.
I
yeah,
thought it was Marcus's eighth. Whatever. It's you
Okay.
can cut this out
yeah.
if you
It's
want.
my 8:30. Which I mean, I think we're getting a little into our this was cool Chris Farley phase. So
Yeah.
and or the DC So White, which we already covered. So
Yeah, I'm
I'm
content
not
having.
That'd be a
saying that
good
it
place
might
to
not
wrap.
be time to wrap it up, but it's not because I'm in a hurry
Yeah,
doing it now.
I am starving though. I got to get dinner on the stuff. But yeah,
Well,
Okay.
that is a good reason.
Yes, it's
there
good
we
to
go.
get fed.
So for the brothers Anderson, no related, no
Wait, real quick.
relation, not related.
What's the next chunk we're reading? I don't even
Oh
remember.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that is a good question. So we have two choices.
Pulling up my
We
calendar.
we could take a Static Shock break. I bought myself the first season,
Right.
or I have volume 4 for both of you that I need to get in the mail.
Or we could get our hands on the Milestone Generations documentary if we wanted to watch that at some point.
Okay.
That is another
Do y'all
option.
know where to get it though? I just don't
It
know where to.
it can be gotten.
Ted has given us a
Gotcha,
wink
gotcha,
and a
gotcha.
nod
Yeah.
on this.
Well,
Yeah, we have
don't
totally
worry about
legitimate means
it.
of yes, we'll get it.
Yeah,
Legitimately.
Right.
Any FBI agents listening in, don't worry about it. But yeah,
Yes.
oh, yeah. But yeah, that's. I mean, we have some options ahead of us. We'll be talking those over an email, I'm sure. But
Okay, yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
who knows what we'll be doing next time?
So yeah, we'll figure it out before next month. We'll be starting volume 4 probably no later than 2 months from now, but we might do an interlude. We've done an interlude between all of the other ones. It seems like we should do another
Yeah.
interlude.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So for the Brothers Anderson, no relation. This has been the Milestone Book Club on 22 panels, and we will see you after the next page.